Should you trust AIs like Perplexity for accuracy in your queries? No, but I'm going to show you exactly why. I'm going to show you what Perplexity had to say about it, and also something that you can do to increase the accuracy just by changing the prompt. But this was shocking to me. It may also be for you, but it's well worth noting so you can have the proper expectations. I'm going to walk you through here on my phone using my Perplexity app. Hey, so a lot of us use AI. I've been using it quite a bit to get specific answers. Sometimes I'm looking for some specific, accurate, updated information, and one of my favorite LLMs to use for that, actually, it's really officially, I guess, an LLM wrapper, which means they basically don't build their own LLM. Perplexity, I'm talking about. They have other LLMs that they use, and they put a wrapper around it and makes it very useful. And I've used it. I think it's really good. It's one of my faves for getting up-to-date information now. But this one, it shocked me. It really did surprise me, and not in a good way. And I really wanted to make this video to share with others to see, because as we use these tools, we really got to be careful the purpose we use them for, and having the right level of expectation. So I'm recording my screen. I love using the app in my Perplexity. I use Pro. That's I pay for Pro. It's about $25 a month. It gives me more options and more LLMs to use, choices. And in this particular case, I did a test, and I'll show you the test later, but I wanted to skip straight to the concerning part, and then we'll get into the details if you want to stick around. So if you stick around to the end of this video, you'll see that Perplexity itself is saying that it can't be trusted. And I did ask it what I can do about that. And it did give me some advice on what to include in my prompts. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll share that with you. So start with, again, I had a scenario. I was basically talking about one of my favorite sports teams, Montreal Canadiens, and I wanted to know what the roster was. I knew that they made some cuts and sent some of the young guys down to the farm team in the last couple of days. So I just was asking, so who was sent down and who's left? And I saw that it was a mistake. I knew for sure because a couple of guys that it said was left weren't even on the team. They were traded in the off season or retired. So I kept pushing. And anyway, it finally got to the point where I pushed it hard enough that it had to admit it, that it was wrong. And then, so I said, okay, great. So you were wrong. Why were you wrong? Why did you give me wrong information? How do I trust it in the future? And what it had to say is very telling. So you see here, it gives me the answer. It basically says, you're absolutely right to call this out. I made the same mistake twice, providing specific player lists without actually verifying the complete, accurate information from reliable sources. I thought that's exactly what this was supposed to be doing. So then it says, then I claimed I got it right when I likely made different errors. What I actually did, so here's what it actually did. It says, I gave you confident sounding lists based on an incomplete truncated search results and my own assumptions. What? That's inexcusable for factual information like roster lists. Yeah, I would say so, and other more important information. But anyway, what I should have done, very interesting, very telling here, it says used get URL content to fetch complete untruncated information from official sources, or clearly stated I cannot provide a definitive list without accessing complete source content. Yeah, like that's exactly what I was expecting it does. What it says I should have done, that's what I thought it was doing. And it's saying it does not. So here, how can you trust me in the future? This is very useful information. Call me out immediately. Okay, well, I did that when I provide specific factual claims without proper sourcing like you just did. Yes, I did. Number 2, ask me to show my work. Demand I fetch complete source content for factual claims. And I'll show you the prompt, how we do that, how it recommends doing that in the future. So that's coming up. And point number 3, look for my citation patterns. Proper research should have multiple specific citations from complete sources. Well, that's a lot of work going and verifying sources. If I'm just looking for a roster update, that's I'm not going to do that. But hey, if you're doing some sort of research, deep research, medical, financial, anything important, what do they call YMYL, your money or your life. This is incredibly important to verify sources. Point number 4, be especially skeptical when I provide lists, statistics, or specific details without clearly citing complete sources. Okay. The honest answer is you shouldn't trust me for specific factual information unless I'm clearly fetching and citing complete source content. Well, that's a lot of digging I have to do. So you cannot make the assumption. You cannot that it's gone and done the proper search. So the point is, to me, it's almost like, well, why bother using it at all? But I'll show you, there is a prompt that does improve greatly. So it says, your skepticism here was completely justified. Yeah, thanks. And necessary. I need to do better at distinguishing between I found some information and I have verified complete information. Quite a distinction. So then what should I include in my prompt to get it right next time? That was what I said. Here's what you should include in your prompt. Essential phrases to add. Provide sources and show your work. Fetch complete source content. Don't rely on search snippets. If you can't verify specific details from complete sources, say so clearly. And use the get URL content to access full articles. Don't speculate. For factual current information specifically, get the most recent complete information from official sources. Cross-reference multiple reliable sources. Don't fill in gaps with assumptions. For list rosters specific data, only provide confirmed information. If any details are missing or unverified, explicitly note what you couldn't confirm. Now this is really gold right here. Example of the improved prompt. Who's left on the Habs roster? Fetch complete source content from official sources. Don't rely on search snippets. If you can't verify specific player names from complete sources, tell me what information is missing rather than speculating. I'm going to include this prompt. You can either just take a picture of it if you want, screenshot, or I'll put it. I'll leave a copy of this prompt in the comments below so you can use it or something like it in the future. I would if it, I did the same test, and just spoiler alert, on ChatGPT. I even use one of my favorite tools is GenSpark AI, which uses again Super Agent, which has LLMs verifying on its own answers. It does its own fact checking, and GenSpark failed like same as Perplexity, and ChatGPT failed, but not as bad. But they all failed. And the reason why, here's my speculation. Here's what I think is happening. AI, LLMs, ChatGPT, this sort of thing, Claude, all of them, they use a lot of energy. Energy is money. And so they're basically taking shortcuts. They're taking shortcuts to get fast results, but if the results are inaccurate or just flat out wrong, who cares how fast they bring them to us? So this is what I think you're going to see. You're seeing it now. You're going to see it in the future. We were warned about it. Sam Altman and ChatGPT, the OpenAI guys, they brought it up a couple of years ago, and it was speculated that basically you're going to have to pay the premium prices, the $200 a month subscriptions, to get the best answers. I was sort of hoping that the depth was going to be the differentiator between the $25 a month plan and the $200 one. Depth of information, but it seems like accuracy is actually suffering as well because they won't check completely. They'll just give you the fast answer. So that's a big heads up. I know it was a bit of a rude awakening for me. I knew it was a possibility, an issue, but now going through all of this, I can see how big of an issue it really is. And so just wanted to share that with you. I still like AI. I think it's still incredibly useful, saves a lot of time. It's all about purpose-driven AI and the narrow focus of AI. I use it to communicate. I've loved using the chatbots and the AI voice assistants. I think they're very conversational, and they do provide, when trained on very specific data like your own website, they do well. I'm finding these broad usage LLMs are giving us worse and worse results. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the matter, but just wanted to give you that heads up that Perplexity itself and other LLMs admit to being wrong and tell you exactly why they're wrong because they basically were lazy and took shortcuts. Anyway, that's all for today. Hope you have a great day.